Hi guys, welcome back to my Friday the 13th movie reviews, and today we're going to be discussing Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. So as usual, at the beginning of this movie we see a recap of some things that happen from the movies before, and again that is a good thing because it still shows that the installments are going and they're continuing as the way they should. But for this one I think that the recaps are a little bit silly. Maybe one part of the recap was necessary but the rest was unnecessary, because we've seen some recaps of Tommy and we all know by now that Tommy is not in this movie, so some of the recaps were a little bit pointless. At the beginning of the movie we've got Jennifer Banko, who's in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and Barbed Wire, and she is playing a young Tina at the beginning. She's only in it for about a minute or two. She looks an awful lot like Carol Ann Freeling from Poltergeist, and she's obviously got the powers of Carrie. So we find out that very early on in the movie that Tina has got these telekinetic or psychokinetic powers, and this is what ultimately brings Jason back. One thing I really loved about Friday the 13th movies is seeing campers in the woods, especially in their tents, and because all the main cast are in this big house, I thought maybe we're going to miss out on that sort of thing, but no, we didn't, which was good, because along the way when Jason was making his way to the house, he comes along, he stumbles across a couple of secondary characters, two of them being characters in the woods in a tent. And we also know that one of the victims was put in a sleeping bag and smacked against a tree, and again that's one of the iconic kills in the Friday the 13th franchise. Kane Hodder, he plays Jason for the first time in the series. Now I'm not a huge fan of Kane Hodder. I know a lot of people rave about Kane Hodder, and I might like him a bit more when I watch the rest of the movies coming up, because I will watch him carefully to find out what everybody else is thinking about Kane Hodder that maybe I can't see. But for this movie, he just looked like another generic Jason. He walked like Jason, he ran like Jason, he killed like Jason, so I can't really compare Kane Hodder's performance as Jason until I see the rest of the movies, because he was just the exact same as the rest of the Jasons. He had a mask on, we can't see him physically, his face, so he shows no emotion, Jason, and in this movie it's no different to the rest of the film. So at this point in time, Kane Hodder's not a bad Jason, but he's not a great Jason. For me, they really knocked it out of the park with the location in this one. Again, we've got the woods setting, we've got two random houses, which is funny, but I really like that. And the overall look of the film, especially the exterior shots, were great. They'd done this quite a lot in the 80s movies, just like Just Before Dawn, if you've seen that. For the exterior shots in the woods, it's as if they've got this some sort of light Vaseline on the lens, and they do that in some films. We done it in college. They put this some sort of Vaseline style on the lens, and it gives that kind of eerie, just kind of muddled look when you're doing exterior shots, because you still get a good quality shot when you've got Vaseline on the lens, especially if it's light outside. But like I said, they do it for the exterior shots. Just had that kind of glow over it, which was great, because I love that nostalgic feeling. That's sort of like the mid to late 80s nostalgic look, and it was great. Mix that with the usual wind and the fog as well for the night shots was great. So location, cinematography for this film was on point. I'd say in terms of kills, I think they concentrated more on the story rather than the kills for this film. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. I would say it's a bad thing because the Friday the 13th movie deserves great kills, especially from the kills from the previous movie in Part 6. So I would say it's a bit of a negative, because I like to see them continue with the way they did in Part 6, because ultimately when they're concentrating on the story for this one, the story wasn't fantastic, it was okay. For a 7th movie in 8 years in the same franchise, I would say that they did try and go in a different angle with the telekinesis, because they have exhausted the usual run-of-the-mill things that they do in the Friday the 13th franchise. So it's good that they're trying to branch off, but at the same time I don't think a Carrie style movie belongs in the Friday the 13th franchise. So for me it didn't work, but for an overall movie on its own, it was actually okay. Ultimately what makes this movie weak for me personally is the fact that they didn't bring Tommy back. Tommy was fine at the end of Part 6, he finally got rid of Jason, so I can understand that the way they wanted to move forward with the franchise and bring Jason back in a creative way, they did that in this one. Tommy's character was so rich and great for Part 6, maybe it wasn't at the time back in the 80s, I don't know, but bringing Tommy into this one would have been a lot better. Maybe bringing Jason back in a different way, because we can bring him back in lazy ways and nobody would really care. So like I said, ultimately the fact that Tommy wasn't the main focus of this film just put me off completely. But like I said, I don't think this was a bad movie. It was a good movie, and I do like it better than I did the last time I watched it, so it is a good thing. It's not actually deteriorating every time I watch it. It's still a good movie, but ultimately, without Tommy and without that proper storyline that they brought from part 6, it wasn't a great film for me. What do you think of this movie, guys? I do know that there's a lot of love for this film, especially with the whole telekinesis, psychokinesis aspect of the film. That's one of the parts that I didn't like about it, but let me know your thoughts down below. What did you really like about this film, or what did you hate about it? Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.